The Australian Outback, dry and hot. It's home to the red giant kangaroo, the emu, and the cockatoo. Settlements and farms are few and far between. It's not a place that you'd expect to see pelicans. And in fact, they don't visit very often. But when they do, it's in their thousands. Why are these water birds in the desert? What draws them to the country's interior? Why do they leave the coast where they have everything they need to survive? The astonishing journeys of the Australian pelican continue to mystify scientists to this day. Pelicans are peculiar birds, especially the Australian or spectacled pelican. But it's not the yellow rings around their eyes that are their most conspicuous feature. It's their oversized beak. No other bird in the world has such a long beak, and the length isn't all. Even more unusual is its enormous bill pouch. It's highly elastic and has a gigantic capacity, up to 13 liters. This enables pelicans to fish in a very special way. They scoop up a pouch full of water and let it flow out slowly on either side. Then just get rid of the plant bits and keep the fish. Because they go down its gullet, pelicans are very partial to fish. Their beak is not only good for fishing, it's also useful for quite delicate tasks. Such as cleaning and adjusting even individual feathers. And if the pouch should need a thorough airing, the beak helps to spread it out over the owner's neck. All in all, the unwieldy-looking beak is actually rather practical. Another somewhat odd feature is that the pelican's legs are short and set quite far back on its body. With its webbed feet, this makes for good propulsion in the water. But their legs aren't that good for walking. On foot, the pelican looks rather clumsy, which is quite endearing, and provides these birds with a rewarding source of food. Showtime for tourists. The birds enjoy being center stage for a fee. A lot more than fishing for compliments, and a win-win situation. Feeding pelicans is just one of the attractions in Australia's coastal cities. Others include crocodile parks, koala petting, and whale watching. There are many similar tourist hotspots throughout the densely populated East Coast region of Australia. It's a vacation paradise for sailing and fishing enthusiasts, surfers and sun worshippers from around the world. And a land of plenty for pelicans, mainly adult birds, because many hatched and grew up a long way from here. From its head to the tip of its tail, the pelican is roughly as long as a human is tall. And for a bird, it's heavy, weighing up to 10 kilograms. Despite that, the pelican is so buoyant it bobs on the water like a cork. And it can even fly, something of a miracle with all that weight. When gliding and landing, it's quite clear that they're aerial experts. It's only the takeoff that's rather awkward for the pelican. Getting that hefty body airborne requires a lot of strength. But it's made possible by their wingspan of up to 3 meters. Once they've accomplished the rather strenuous takeoff procedure, they can show off their skills. Using thermals, they can reach heights of up to 3,000 meters. And once aloft, they can stay in the air for more than 24 hours at a stretch. This high-flying ability plays an important role in their lives. To reach their breeding grounds, many of them have to fly very long distances. Most of their adult lives, these birds move around to any place with open waters. River estuaries with flat sand banks, such as here on the Australian east coast, are ideal. This is where the one thing is that pelicans need for survival. Fish. Plenty of fish. About 1.5 kilograms per bird per day. Pelicans aren't the only ones with an appetite for fish. Many Australians harbour a great passion for fishing, so the fishing grounds bring humans and birds together. For pelicans, the following applies. Why go hunting yourself when hanging about can produce the same result? Everywhere near the water, there are public facilities for gutting fish. The pelicans know this. As soon as the fishermen unpack their catch, the big birds gather round. When fish are gutted and prepared for human consumption, there's quite a lot left over. A successful hunt with minimal effort. the advantage for everyone, hardly anything goes to waste. The water birds happily accept whatever the humans don't want. Free meals for pelicans, seagulls, and other fish eaters. The downside, squabbles and strife are inevitable. Just like at any free buffet, everyone wants to be first in line. But once the restaurant is closed, the fuss dies down, and they all quietly go back to their own lives. Time for a little rest, and everything is fine. So much for ordinary pelican life. However, every 5, 10, or 20 years, something unusual happens. The pelicans leave. Within a few days, most of them disappear from this land of plenty. But why on earth would several thousand birds suddenly leave a habitat where they have such a rich supply of food? They gather in flocks in the skies. Spiraling aloft, they let the thermals carry them upwards. Once they reach their ideal flying altitude, they move off in energy-saving formations. Now, it's all about long distance. From all around Australia, the pelicans set off on a journey of thousands of kilometers into the country's interior. But what draws them back there time and again, and at such irregular intervals? How do they know when to go? And where do they stay? The flocks from the east coast first fly over the Great Dividing Range, a mountain range separating the coastal wetlands from the dry interior. Precipitation seldom reaches the other side of this watershed. Behind the Great Divide, the Outback begins. Endless space, dead straight roads. Heading west, it gets progressively drier and more isolated. Very few people live here. Settlements or farms are scattered far apart. The pelicans must traverse this parched stretch of land. Small towns are located at major road intersections, often hundreds of kilometers away from each other. The outposts of former settlers and pioneers. And still to this day, stop-offs for travelers passing through, and gathering places for those on sprawling farms in the surrounding countryside. Not all settlers stay. Life is hard in the outback. Pelicans only rarely pass over here. They follow their own inexplicable routes. This is the heartland of Australian myth and legend, and it seems almost as if the dream paths of Aboriginal Australians are signposts for the pelicans. In the Australian outback, life follows a different rhythm to that of the densely populated coast. In many places, the dream time is still evident. A time when, it's said, the world began and all things and creatures were one. These stories of creation are still handed down to this day. One story tells how the pelican was jealous of the emu's eggs and threw one up into the heavens, where it broke and became the sun. Others tell about how the kangaroo was created and how it got its tail. In the world of the Aboriginals, each creature has its own legend. Galahs, or pink cockatoos, often live near farms. Because here they have food and water. Windmills tap into the groundwater reservoir deep below ground. Without them, survival would be impossible in the central outback. Dried-out riverbeds crisscross the landscape. Many have small or sometimes even large waterholes, oases of life. But not for pelicans. Eucalyptus trees are hardy and have deep roots. They can survive even long periods of drought. All around, the desert prevails. But it's not always like that. Dramatic events far away from the outback can change this situation radically. Australia is impacted by monsoons that bring storms and rain to the coast every year, and occasionally also cyclones. Then torrents of rain fall even far into the mountain ranges. With often catastrophic effects for coastal regions. But for the outback, it means life. When rainfall penetrates deep into the mountains of the Great Dividing Range, the water flows into the central desert basin. In some years, there's so much water that the dry riverbeds and lakes fill up. Rivulets swell, flow together, and become rivers. The river courses can flow for hundreds of kilometers. It can take months for the precipitation from the rainy areas to reach the desert. And plenty of water must continue to flow from the mountains for enough of it to reach the low-lying desert areas and fill them. Where and when this will happen in Australia's enormous interior is impossible to predict. So how do the pelicans know when they have to leave and where to go? It's an unsolved mystery. After a flight of more than 1,000 kilometers, they reach their destination, one of the newly filled inland lakes. Countless pelicans gather here to breed. After around a month, the chicks hatch, naked and blind. But that only lasts for a few days. Then their downy feathers quickly begin to grow. Predators cannot easily access the islands and beaches of these desert lakes, and the pelicans' sheer numbers provide added protection. Although hot, the weather is stable. There's no threat of storms and heavy rainfall. All good reasons to gather here to breed. It's still no paradise, though. Ravens and crows pose a real danger to the chicks. And there's nothing to eat, as much of the water evaporates quickly in the heat, and the water in most of the lakes is too salty for fish. So where do the pelicans get food for their offspring? Every bird needs between 1 and 2 kilograms of fish a day. How can they find that much fish in the middle of the desert? Question after question that puzzles scientists. These breeding events are rare, and it's not easy to reach the nesting places. Hardly surprising, then, that researchers still know so little about the phenomenon. Nor is it enough just to observe the activities in the colony. Where does the food come from for which thousands of birds fly into the desert? The riverbeds, waterholes and salt lakes of Central Australia are often empty for years, sometimes decades. And when the rainwater does arrive here from where it fell, it rarely reaches all the inland regions. In this exceptional year, the valleys in the eastern part of the Central Basin have filled up. After more than 10 years of drought, rivers flood the shallow depressions, spread out, and form lakes. After the Great Flood, the submerged areas might seem like calm waters, but below the surface, life is rapidly developing. Soon, for a short time, this place will become a paradise. Weeks have passed since the water flooded in. This high tide has brought with it a huge quantity of insects, small animals and plant matter. Plenty of food for fish and other creatures that have survived the drought years in the waterholes. Now they multiply explosively and are carried everywhere by the flowing water. This is what provides the birds with an abundant source of food. Zebra finches liven up the riverbanks. Ducks can eat their fill. And there's even enough for cormorants to breed here. Early morning, and the first pelicans have already begun to arrive, although this stretch of water is over 50 kilometers from their breeding sites. Astonishing though it may seem, a formerly dried-out riverbed in the middle of the desert can provide enough food for the pelicans. In the permanent water holes, fish have laid billions and billions of eggs. The floodwaters now take these and transport them across a wide area. The eggs hatch very quickly, giving the pelicans their much-needed source of fish. Although pelicans prefer to forage in groups, they're quite happy hunting alone. In the murky water, the benefits of their bill pouch really come to the fore. The bird scoops up a quantity of water in its bill, as with a fishing net, and simply sieves out anything that wriggles. The catch is mostly small, but plentiful. The more, the better. It's the repetitions that count. Science still knows very little about the massive and rapid reproduction of the fish. What is clear, however, is that they occur in such profusion that they can provide food for hundreds of thousands of birds. The flooded river is important for more than just the pelicans. Other animals, such as feral goats, also come here to drink. Spoonbills have no trouble feeding their young now. Little fish, mollusks, and aquatic insects abound across the floodplains. Spoonbills often live permanently in the outback, but when there is so much water, their offspring have a far better chance of survival. The cormorants are also breeding now. Both parent birds feed the young and go fishing in the river. Late morning, the early birds take a break. Many pelicans have already visited other rivers and lakes in search of favorable hunting grounds. Now they've arrived here to try their luck. Not every flooded riverbed carries enough fish for the pelicans. It depends on whether the floodwaters also reached the waterholes, because that's where the fish, crustaceans and other aquatic creatures emerge from, multiply and spread. Hunting in groups is common among pelicans. With outspread wings, they create a formation intended to herd the fish together. This seems to be quite successful. Cormorants also profit from the pelican's strategy. At any rate, there's enough food for everyone. At least as long as the riverbeds still have flowing water. There's not much rain in the Outback. But when it does fall, it's always welcome. It generally doesn't last long. As soon as the clouds clear, the sun scorches down again. The precipitation is usually only enough to create a couple of small ponds. No comparison with the floods from the mountains, and definitely not enough to sustain waterfowl such as pelicans. The parched earth absorbs the rainwater very quickly, and desert conditions return in just a few hours. Despite the dry climate, there are farms here. Without water pumping windmills, livestock farming would be unthinkable. The fact that cattle can live off the sparse vegetation is thanks to the gigantic groundwater reservoir that lies deep beneath the desert floor. This not only ensures the water supply for the extensive farms, it also supports local wildlife. Emus forage for food near settlements and roads. They have long become used to traffic, yet still occasionally fall victim to the infamous road trains. Trucks that transport all manner of goods across the centre of Australia. There aren't many rail-borne trains in the sparsely populated area. The Westlander is one of the few still running. It connects the east coast with the most important towns in the country's interior. Historical buildings hark back to the optimistic, pioneering spirit of the late 19th century. The bigger towns have between 1,000 and 3,000 inhabitants. They are important hubs in the vast expanse of the Outback, oases for farmers from the surrounding farms and those just passing through. At the edge of the town, the wilderness begins abruptly. This is emu territory. Emus are flightless birds, but tireless walkers, often covering huge distances in search of food. The red giant kangaroo is one of Australia's most enduring emblems. Its home is the dry grasslands. Conservation areas such as the Currawinia National Park are important sanctuaries, and not only for kangaroos. In this exceptional year, it's also a breeding ground for pelicans. adult birds are away fishing, the little ones huddle together in nursery groups. The heat is extreme, sometimes causing entire generations of chicks to perish. Only if the water remains in the desert for 4 to 5 months will the pelicans be able to raise their young. So they have to find as much food for their offspring as they can, and as fast as possible. The rivers within reach still contain enough water and are full of fish. But nevertheless, it is a race against time. When their crops are full, they start on their long homeward journey. The fishing grounds sometimes lie more than 100 kilometers from the breeding colony. The trip back can last several hours. No problem for these aerial specialists. The most important thing is that they carry enough food with them to enable their young to grow quickly. It takes at least 3 months for the chicks to be able to use their wings properly. And then they still have to learn how to fly. Their very first flight will be a long-distance one. There is still enough water, and the salt lake has not yet dried up to a salt crust. There is hope for a successful breeding season, for now. Back in the colony, the main thing is to get the little ones full of food. The older chicks must make a real effort to get enough. Incidentally, pelicans don't carry food in their otherwise practical bill pouch, but like all other birds, in their crop. The young birds have to retrieve it from there. The heat intensifies constantly, and the water is evaporating fast. The lake is gradually drying out. The desert is returning. But the pelicans still manage to raise almost all their offspring. After 4 months in the desert, the young birds try out their wings. The great departure approaches as their food is running out. And then, suddenly, as if in response to an invisible sign, they depart. Most will return to where they came from. Many of them fly back to the east coast with their offspring. There they spread out over a wide area to lakes and rivers, places also preferred by humans. They settle in parks and residential areas. Precisely when they will disappear again, no one knows. Pelicans have a lifespan of over 20 years, enough time to wait for the next great flood in the outback. But the mystery behind when and why they undertake this phenomenal journey remains unsolved for now.